The deep hum of the engines filled the bridge of the horizon's edge as it moved through the darkness of uncharted space. Captain Natalie Reeves stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the stars on the main screen. "Status report," she said. Lieutenant Alan Bowen looked up from his console. "All systems normal, Captain. We're about to enter Sector 739. No signs of any problems." Captain Reeves nodded. This far from Earth, every new sector could bring discovery or danger. The horizon's edge was an exploration vessel, built to find what waited beyond known space. Its crew of 35 had been traveling for 8 months now. "Captain," called Communications Officer Diane Porter suddenly. "I'm picking up something strange ahead." The bridge crew turned to look at her. "What kind of something?" asked Captain Reeves. "Energy readings. Big ones. And they're moving." Diane's fingers flew across her screen. "They don't match anything in our database." Science Officer Kelly Rhodes moved to Diane's station and studied the readings. "Those patterns suggest artificial power sources. Captain, I believe we found ships." A tense silence fell over the bridge. In all of humanity's space exploration, they had found ruins and artifacts of long-gone civilizations, but never a living alien species. "Battle stations," ordered Captain Reeves calmly. "Not because we want to fight, but because we need to be ready for anything." The ship's lights dimmed to combat settings as crew members moved with practiced efficiency. "On screen," Reeves commanded. The view screen flickered, then showed what lay ahead. 5 massive vessels hung in space. They were unlike anything human eyes had seen before, crystalline structures that seemed to grow out from central cores, catching and reflecting starlight in brilliant rainbow patterns. "They're beautiful," whispered Navigator Paul Santos. "And about 3 times our size," added Security Chief Rita Delgado, her hand resting on her weapon. "No aggressive movements," said Alan. "They appear to be in a standard formation. They might be as surprised to see us as we are to see them." Captain Reeves stepped forward. "Diane, broadcast on all frequencies. Standard first contact greeting." "Broadcasting now, Captain." For several long moments, nothing happened. The alien ships remained in position, their crystal structures pulsing with internal light. "They're scanning us," Kelly said suddenly, eyes fixed on her readings. "It's a deep scan, penetrating all decks." "Can we block it?" asked Reeves. "No. It's using frequencies we've never seen before." Kelly stopped mid-sentence. "Captain, the scan just intensified. They're examining our biological makeup now." On the screen, the pattern of lights within the alien ships suddenly changed. The steady pulses became rapid, erratic flashes that spread from ship to ship. "What's happening?" Reeves demanded. "I think," Alan said slowly, "they're panicking." Before anyone could respond, the alien ships began to move. Their formation broke apart as they scattered in different directions, accelerating to incredible speeds. "They're running away," Rita said in disbelief. Within moments, 4 of the 5 ships had disappeared from their sensors. Only the largest remained, moving more slowly than the others, but clearly retreating. Captain Reeves stared at the screen, her brow furrowed. What could make an advanced species run from us like that? Alan stood up from his station. "Captain, I have a theory. As a xenobiologist, I've studied how different environments create different evolutionary paths. Those ships were crystalline in structure. What if the beings inside are similar? What if they evolved in completely different conditions than us?" "What are you suggesting?" Reeves asked. "What if they scanned us and found something terrifying?" Alan replied, "Our bodies contain trillions of bacteria and viruses that live with us. To a species that never evolved with microbes, we might look like walking infection colonies." The bridge fell silent as the crew considered this idea. "So we scared them just by being human," Diane said quietly. Captain Reeves straightened her uniform and made a decision. "Plot a course to follow the remaining ship. Keep a safe distance. I want to know who they are and why they ran." "And if they don't want to talk?" asked Rita. Reeves's expression was determined. "We came out here to make first contact. I'm not giving up because we frightened them. Sometimes fear just means you found something you don't understand yet." Distance to the alien vessel, Captain Reeves asked, her eyes not leaving the main screen where the crystalline ship glowed against the darkness of space. "Holding steady at 50,000 kilometers, Navigator Paul Santos replied. "They're moving fast, but we're keeping pace." It had been 6 hours since the strange encounter with the alien ships. The Horizon's Edge followed the largest vessel at a respectful distance, careful not to appear threatening. The crew worked with focused energy, the excitement of first contact mixed with confusion over the aliens' fearful reaction. In the communications center, Diane Porter sat with headphones pressed to her ears. The ship's AI, nicknamed Echo, worked alongside her to analyze the strange transmissions coming from the alien vessel. "Anything useful?" asked Kelly Rhodes, bringing Diane a cup of coffee. Diane took the cup gratefully. "They're broadcasting like crazy." Echo is trying to find patterns, but their language is unlike anything we've encountered. The console in front of them beeped suddenly. Echo's calm voice filled the room. "Pattern match found. Transmission fragments now converting to approximate human language." Words began to scroll across the screen, broken and incomplete. "Human vessel contains multiple life forms, billions of separate entities. Emergency quarantine. Biological threat level maximum." Kelly leaned closer. "They think we're multiple life forms." "Keep working, Echo," Diane instructed. "We need more context." On the bridge, Alan Bowen was pulling up biological scans of the alien ship. "Captain, I'm not detecting any biological signatures we'd recognize. No carbon-based life forms. The entire ship seems to be made of a crystal silicon hybrid material." "Are you saying the ship itself is alive?" Captain Reeves asked. "Not exactly. I think the crystalline structures we saw are their bodies. They've built their ships as extensions of themselves." Alan pointed to energy patterns flowing through the alien vessel. "See how these move, almost like a nervous system." Lieutenant Frank Donovan, the ship's medical officer, joined them. If they evolved as silicon-based life, they would have completely different biological needs. They might never have experienced bacterial or viral life. Down in engineering, Greg Martinez showed his assistant Susan Liu what he'd discovered. Their drive system uses principles we've never seen before. They're manipulating space itself, not just moving through it. "Could we build something like that?" Susan asked. Greg shook his head. "Not without understanding their materials science. Their entire technology seems built around their crystalline nature." Back in communications, Echo had managed to decode more transmissions. Diane called the captain immediately. "Captain, you need to see this," she said as Reeves arrived with Alan and Frank. More translated text filled the screen. "Human bodies contain invasive microscopic colonization. How do they survive? Parasites throughout all systems. Estimated 100 trillion foreign entities inside each human. Contagion potential unknown." "They're talking about our microbiome," Frank said with growing excitement. "Our gut bacteria, skin flora, all the microorganisms that live in and on us naturally." Ellen nodded. "Just as I suspected. To them, we look like walking infection colonies." "Aren't we, in a way?" Diane asked. "Humans have more bacterial cells than human cells in our bodies." "Yes, but we evolved together. Our microbes help us digest food, produce vitamins, fight off harmful organisms," Frank explained. "We need them to survive. It's a symbiotic relationship." Captain Reeves studied the translations, and to these crystalline beings, that concept is completely alien, even terrifying. Echo interrupted with a new alert. "Captain, I've detected additional transmissions being sent from the alien vessel to multiple destinations across space. They appear to be warning signals. They're telling their entire civilization about us," Kelly said softly. Captain Reeves straightened up, So we're being portrayed as some kind of biological threat, a contagion. What do we do? Diane asked. If we try to approach them again, they might attack out of fear. Reeves was quiet for a moment, weighing their options. We need to establish communication. Show them we're not a threat. She turned to Alan. Prepare a detailed explanation of human biology, simple enough for translation. And Diane, keep working on their language. And if they won't listen? Frank asked. They're scared, not aggressive. Reeves replied. Fear comes from misunderstanding. Our job now is to help them understand. As the Horizon's Edge continued its careful pursuit, the crew didn't realize that across the alien communication networks, plans were already being made about how to deal with the dangerous human contagion. On the alien flagship, panic had turned to intense debate. The Viraxian High Council gathered in a chamber made of pulsing crystal, their bodies glowing with different colors to express their emotions. Admiral Zilix's form flashed with angry red pulses. We must act now. Sterilize the human ship and send warnings to seal off their entire sector. We know nothing about their intentions, argued Chief Scientist Kylara, her body emitting calm blue waves. They have followed us, but made no aggressive moves. Their very existence is aggressive, Zilix countered. Each human contains billions of foreign organisms. One breach of our environment would be catastrophic. Elder Myrax, the council leader, glowed with steady purple light. Yet they survive with these parasites. How is this possible? That is what fascinates me, Kylara said. Any species that can not only survive but thrive while hosting internal invasions must possess extraordinary biological adaptations. We could learn from them. Learn? They are a plague waiting to happen, Zilix insisted. Meanwhile, aboard the Horizon's Edge, Captain Reeves called her senior officers to the conference room. We need to establish communication before they decide we're a threat, she said. Ideas? Greg Martinez spoke up. We could send a small shuttle. Show them we want peaceful contact. They'd never let us near them, Rita objected. They think we're walking germ factories. Then we clean up, Greg suggested. We have sterilization protocols for planetary exploration. We could create a completely sterile shuttle, use strong decontamination procedures, wear environmental suits. Captain Reeves nodded slowly. A gesture to show we understand their concerns. Who would go? I should, Kelly said. As science officer, I can explain our biology. I'll go too, Greg volunteered. If we need technical solutions to communicate, I'm your man. After hours of preparation, a small shuttle was ready. The interior had been sterilized with radiation and chemical treatments. Kelly and Greg wore sealed environmental suits that had never been used before, manufactured in the ship's fabrication bay and sterilized multiple times. Captain Reeves addressed them before they departed. Your mission is simple. Establish contact and show them we mean no harm. Don't try to board their vessel unless invited. Just open a channel for communication. The shuttle detached from the Horizon's Edge and moved slowly toward the Viraxian ship, broadcasting on all frequencies. We come in peace. We understand your concerns about our biology. We wish to talk. On the Viraxian flagship, the message caused another heated debate. It's a trick, Admiral Zilix insisted. Kylara studied the readings. The small vessel appears to be sterilized. They're making an effort to accommodate our needs. I sense intelligence in this approach. Elder Myrax said thoughtfully. They've guessed why we fled and are adapting. After much argument, the Viraxians decided to permit a meeting on a small space station orbiting a nearby moon. The station was rarely used, but could be prepared with strict containment protocols. As the human shuttle approached the designated meeting point, Kelly and Greg felt the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. Remember, Kelly said, we're not just representing our ship now. We're representing all of humanity. Greg nodded inside his helmet. No pressure. The space station came into view, a crystalline structure like the ship's, but smaller and anchored to the moon's surface. A docking port extended toward them, surrounded by pulsing lights. "I think that's an invitation," Greg said. "Or a trap," Kelly replied, but she guided the shuttle forward nonetheless. Inside the station, 3 Viraxians waited. Their bodies were humanoid in basic shape, but made entirely of living crystal that shifted and flowed with inner light. They stood behind transparent barriers, watching as the humans docked. "Decontamination field active," one announced, its voice translated by the station's systems into sounds humans could understand. "You may enter, but remain within the marked area." Kelly and Greg exchanged glances. This was it. Humanity's first official contact with an alien species. "Here goes nothing," Greg said as the airlock opened. The fate of human-Viraxian relations now rested on this carefully controlled meeting between 2 species that could not be more different in their basic biology. Kelly and Greg stepped carefully into the meeting chamber. Their environmental suits made soft hissing sounds as the life support systems worked. Ahead of them, 3 crystalline beings stood behind transparent barriers. The aliens' bodies pulsed with light in patterns that seemed to flow like liquid through their solid forms. "We thank you for agreeing to meet," Kelly said, her voice carrying through the station's translation system. "I am Science Officer Kelly Rhodes, and this is Engineer Greg Martinez from the Earth vessel Horizon's Edge." The tallest alien's body flashed with blue light. "I am Kailara, Chief Scientist of the Viraxian Federation. With me are Elder Mayrax and Security Director Valen." The translation came through as a series of musical tones followed by words the humans could understand. "We have many questions about your species," Kailara continued. "As do we about yours," Kelly replied. "We hope this meeting will be the first of many peaceful exchanges between our peoples." Greg noticed how the Viraxians stayed far from the clear barrier separating them. "We understand your concerns about our biology. That's why we've taken these precautions." Elder Myrax, whose crystal body had deeper, more complex patterns, spoke next. "You understand. Then you know you carry billions of invasive organisms within you." "We do," Kelly said, "but they are not invasive to us. They are part of what makes us human." The 3 Viraxians pulsed with rapid colors, communicating among themselves. "I have a bad feeling about this," Greg whispered to Kelly. She nodded slightly but kept her focus on the aliens. "Perhaps I could explain how human biology works." "Please do," Kailara said, moving slightly closer to the barrier. Kelly began a simple explanation of human microbiomes, how bacteria in the gut help digest food, how microorganisms on the skin protected against harmful invaders, and how human immune systems worked with these microbes. As she spoke, the Viraxians' light patterns became more agitated. "You allow these organisms to live inside you, on purpose?" Valen asked, his form flashing with what seemed like alarm. "We evolved together," Kelly explained. "We need each other to survive." Greg tried to help. "Look, I know it sounds strange, but it's normal for us. Sometimes I just have a gut feeling about things, you know." The alien's body suddenly flared with bright colors. "Your gut has feelings?" Kailara asked, moving back from the barrier. "It's just an expression," Greg said quickly. "It means." "And sometimes," Kelly added, trying to lighten the mood, "we catch colds from each other, but our immune systems usually handle it." This made things worse. The Viraxians pulsed rapidly in what was clearly distress. "You catch diseases from each other and consider this normal." Elder Myrax's voice carried what sounded like horror. "I think we're making things worse," Greg whispered. Kelly tried again. "Perhaps we should talk about your biology instead. We're very interested in how your crystalline forms work." Kailara seemed to regain composure. "We are silicon-based life forms. We grow from seed crystals and absorb energy and minerals directly. Our bodies are perfect closed systems. We do not host other organisms. That explains the lack of immune systems," Kelly said thoughtfully. "You never needed to develop them." "Never needed them," Valen moved forward suddenly. Are you suggesting our biology is deficient? No, not at all, Kelly said quickly. Just different. Elder Myrax's colors settled into a more steady pattern. In all our explorations, we have never encountered beings like you. You are walking ecosystems rather than single organisms. That's a good way to put it. Greg agreed. It is terrifying, Valen said flatly. A moment of uncomfortable silence followed. Perhaps, Kylara suggested finally, we should focus on practical matters. How can we communicate without risking biological contamination? Kelly felt a small sense of hope. At least they wanted to keep talking. We can maintain these protocols for now. Use sterilized environments and barriers. And perhaps, Elder Myrax added, we can learn from each other despite our differences. As the meeting continued, both humans and Viraxians began to understand just how profound those differences were. Each side viewed the other with a mixture of fascination and horror. Two forms of life, so alien to each other that even basic concepts of biology had to be explained from the beginning. Back on the horizon's edge, Captain Reeves paced the bridge while waiting for news from Kelly and Greg. The first meeting with the Viraxians had lasted nearly 4 hours, and the two officers had just returned to report their findings. So they're terrified of our bacteria, Reeves said after hearing their account. But they still want to communicate. Yes, but they're extremely cautious, Kelly explained. Every word we say seems to reveal some new horror about human biology to them. In the medical bay, Frank Donovan had been studying the sensor data they'd gathered on the Viraxians. He called an urgent meeting with the captain and senior staff. I think I understand why they're so afraid, he said, bringing up detailed scans on the main screen. Look at this crystalline structure. It's perfect, too perfect. What do you mean? Asked Captain Reeves. Frank pointed to different parts of the image. There's no variation, no imperfections in their cellular makeup. No signs of any repair mechanisms or adaptive systems. So, Rita asked, so they never evolved with microbes or viruses or any other competing life forms, Frank explained. They never needed to develop immune systems. They have no biological defenses against outside organisms. Elen leaned forward, excitement in his voice. You're saying that to them, we're not just strange. We're potentially deadly. Exactly, Frank nodded. A simple sneeze from one of us could potentially trigger an extinction-level event for their species. They have no way to fight off even the most harmless human bacteria. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. No wonder they ran when they scanned us, Diane said softly. Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Navigator Paul Santos made his own discovery. He'd been analyzing the Viraxian ship's travel patterns based on the data they'd gathered. Captain, he called over the comm system. I need to show you something in the mapping room. When Reeves arrived, Paul had a 3-dimensional star map projected in the center of the room. I've been tracking Viraxian movements based on their engine signatures. Look at this pattern around Earth's solar system. The map showed a series of dots forming a rough circle around human space. What am I looking at? Reeves asked. Viraxian patrol routes, Paul explained. They've been monitoring the edges of our territory for at least 50 years, maybe longer. Are you saying they knew about us all this time? Paul nodded. But that's not all. Look at these other routes. He added new patterns to the map. These are paths of other alien ships we've never encountered. Notice how the Viraxian patrols always intercept them before they reach human space, then redirect them away. Captain Reeves stared at the map. They've been keeping other aliens away from us. Like a quarantine zone, Paul agreed. They'd been isolating human space, probably to prevent what they see as biological contamination from spreading. But that means, Reeves thought aloud, they've inadvertently been protecting Earth from potential threats all this time. Back in the conference room, Frank continued his analysis. The irony is, what they see as our greatest danger might actually be our greatest strength. Our experience with microorganisms has forced human immune systems to become incredibly adaptive. We've evolved to coexist with countless other life forms. While they evolved in isolation, Alan added, perfect, but unchanging. And potentially fragile, Frank concluded. Their biology is so pure, so unchanging, that they might have reached an evolutionary dead end. They can't adapt to new challenges. Captain Reeves considered this information. So humanity's messy biology, the very thing that terrifies them, gives us an adaptability they lack. Exactly, Frank said. And in the long run, adaptability is what ensures survival. A communication alert sounded. It was Diane from the bridge. Captain, we're picking up unusual movement from the Viraxian fleet. Multiple ships are changing course, heading straight for us. Reeves straightened her uniform. Send a message to Kelly and Greg at the meeting station. Tell them to be on alert. Something's happening. As the crew rushed to their stations, no one noticed a small, unauthorized transmission being sent from the Viraxian meeting station to the horizon's edge. A secret message from someone among the crystalline beings who saw humans not as a threat, but as a possible salvation. 3 Viraxian warships approaching, weapons systems active, Rita reported from the security station. The bridge of the horizon's edge hummed with tense activity as crew members prepared for a possible attack. Captain Reeves stood firm. Raise shields, but do not power weapons. I want to make it clear we're not looking for a fight. Captain, they're broadcasting a message, Diane called out. Translating now. Admiral Zilix's voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, you have been deemed a critical biological hazard. Your ship will be sterilized for the safety of all life in this sector. Do not resist. They're going to attack us because they're afraid of our germs, Alan said in disbelief. Open a channel, Reeves ordered. When Diane nodded, she spoke clearly. Viraxian fleet, this is Captain Reeves. We understand your concerns, but we are not a threat. We request time tow. A brilliant beam of energy cut through space, striking the horizon's edge's shields. The ship shuddered. Shields holding at 80%, Rita reported. They're using some kind of radiation weapon, designed to kill microorganisms, not destroy the ship. They don't want to destroy us, Frank realized. They're trying to sterilize us. Captain Reeves made a quick decision. Evasive maneuvers. Deploy countermeasures, but non-lethal only. I don't want to harm them. They're acting out of fear, not malice. The horizon's edge banked sharply, releasing clouds of reflective particles that scattered the Viraxian beams. The human ship was more maneuverable than the larger crystalline vessels, allowing them to stay just ahead of the attacks. Meanwhile, at the meeting station, Kelly and Greg were being held in their chamber, unable to return to their shuttle. We need to contact our ship, Kelly insisted to Kilara, who stood nervously on the other side of the barrier. Admiral Zelix has ordered the containment of all human presence, Kilara replied, her crystalline form pulsing with worried colors. This action against your ship was not unanimously approved by our council. Then help us stop it before people get hurt, Greg urged. Before Kilara could respond, a smaller Viraxian entered the chamber, moving quickly. Chief Scientist, you are needed in the control center, the newcomer said. After Kilara left, the young Viraxian moved closer to the barrier. My name is Trizix, he said quietly. I am a research scientist. I've been studying your Earth transmissions for years. You speak our language? Kelly asked, surprised. I've learned from your broadcasts, Trizix replied. Listen carefully. I've sent a private message to your ship with important information. What information? Greg asked. The truth about my people. Trizix's crystal body glowed with soft green light. We Viraxians have reached an evolutionary crisis. Our perfect biology has become our greatest weakness. Back on the horizon's edge, the battle continued. The ship shook as another beam struck the shields. Shields at 60%, Rita called out. We can't keep this up much longer. Diane suddenly straightened at her console. Captain, I'm receiving a strange transmission. It bypassed our regular communication system. Source: Reeves demanded. It appears to be from the meeting station, but not through official channels. Put it through, Reeves ordered. A message appeared on the main screen, a complex set of diagrams and text explaining Viraxian biology in detail. At the end was a simple message: humans not threat, potential salvation. Viraxians cannot adapt to cosmic changes. Perfect but static evolution. Need help? Find me. Trizix. What is this? Captain Reeves wondered aloud. Frank studied the diagrams with growing excitement. Captain, this is incredible. These are detailed genetic maps of Viraxian biology. And look, he pointed to several sections. These show degradation in their crystal matrices over generations. They're experiencing a form of species-wide cellular breakdown. They're dying out. Ellen asked. Worse, Frank said. They're failing to adapt to natural cosmic radiation changes. Their perfect biology worked in stable conditions, but the galaxy is always changing. They haven't evolved fast enough to keep up. Another hit rocked the ship. Shields at 40%, Rita warned. Captain Reeves studied the message, then made her decision. Stop running. Position us directly between the Viraxian flagship and the meeting station. Broadcast this message and all the data we just received on all frequencies. Are you sure? Rita asked. Yes, Reeves said firmly. Sometimes to make peace, you have to stand your ground. The horizon's edge hung in space, shields glowing as they absorbed another hit from the Viraxian ships. Captain Reeves stood on the bridge, watching as Diane broadcast Trizix's message across all channels. They've stopped firing, Rita reported, surprise in her voice. On the main screen, Admiral Zilix's crystalline face appeared. What is the meaning of this transmission? He demanded. These are private Viraxian medical records. Records that your own scientists sent us, Captain Reeves replied calmly. Admiral, we know about your species' genetic degradation. We know you're facing an evolutionary crisis. This is a trick, Zilix insisted, but uncertainty colored his voice. It's not a trick, Frank said, stepping forward. Your perfect crystal structures can't adapt to cosmic radiation changes. Without adaptation mechanisms, your entire species faces extinction within generations. Before Zilix could respond, Elder Myrax appeared on the screen beside him. How did you acquire this information? From a scientist named Trizix, Reeves answered. Someone who sees humanity not as a threat but as a potential ally. At the meeting station, Trizix faced angry questions from Kilara and other Viraxian officials. You committed treason by sharing our medical data, one accused. I shared the truth, Trizix replied firmly. A truth our leaders have hidden from our people for too long. Our perfect biology is failing us. Kelly stepped forward. Your people fear our microbiomes, but you're missing what they represent. Adaptation, constant change and evolution. Exactly, Greg added. Humans evolved alongside microorganisms, developing complex immune systems that can adapt to new threats. Trizix turned to the other Viraxians. This is what we lack. The ability to change, to adapt. Back on the horizon's edge, Captain Reeves made a bold proposal to the Viraxian leaders. We offer a solution, a partnership. Human medical science might help your species develop adaptive mechanisms. Impossible, Admiral Zilix scoffed. Your biology would kill us. Not if we proceed carefully, Frank explained. We could develop controlled exposure protocols, specially designed environments where your people could gradually be introduced to harmless microorganisms. You want to infect us deliberately. Zilix's form pulsed with alarm. We want to help you adapt, Reeves corrected. Carefully, safely, on your terms. Elder Myrax's crystalline form shimmered thoughtfully. And what would humans gain from this partnership? Your technology, your knowledge of space, Reeves replied. A peaceful alliance between our civilizations. Hours later, after intense debate among the Viraxian High Council, a decision was reached. Elder Myrax himself delivered the news. "We will accept your proposal for a limited trial," he told Captain Reeves. "A small number of volunteers will participate in these adaptation experiments." 1 week later, in a specially constructed laboratory on the meeting station, Frank Donovan worked alongside Trizix and Kilara. They watched as the first Viraxian volunteer was exposed to a carefully selected, harmless bacteria in a highly controlled environment. Through a microscope, they observed the crystal structure of the Viraxian cells. At first, nothing happened. Then, almost imperceptibly, the perfect pattern began to change. "Look," Frank pointed excitedly. "The crystal lattice is reconfiguring. It's not rejecting the bacteria, it's incorporating it." Trizix's body glowed with hope. "It's working. Our bodies can adapt after all. We just never had the chance to try." Captain Reeves and Elder Myrax watched from an observation room. "This is just the beginning," Reeves said. "The process will take years, perhaps generations. But it gives my people a future," Elder Myrax replied. "Something we were losing." As the Horizon's Edge prepared to return to Earth with Viraxian representatives, Captain Reeves stood in her ready room, looking out at the stars. Her first officer, Alan, joined her. "Quite a mission," he said. "When we left Earth, we hoped to find alien life. Instead, we might have saved an entire civilization and learned something about ourselves." Reeves added, "What terrified them most about us turned out to be our greatest strength. Our messy, chaotic, bacteria-filled bodies," Alan said with a smile. "Our ability to adapt, to change." Reeves looked at the Viraxian ships that would escort them home. "Fear nearly drove us apart. Understanding brought us together." As both species took their first careful steps toward a shared future, the universe seemed a little less lonely, a little more hopeful, all because aliens had scanned a human ship and screamed in fear.